They tell you the secret is being a good guy. Be available, be respectful, communicate, compliment her, listen, open up, be emotionally vulnerable, be soft, be sweet, be her safe space. You know what happens when you follow that script? She gets bored, she drifts. Her texts slow down, her interest fades, and you're left wondering what the hell happened after you did everything right. Here's the bitter truth. Attraction doesn't grow in safety. It grows in polarity. Fire doesn't burn without oxygen. And you've been smothering her with emotional compliance, thinking it was connection. All this time you've been taught to appeal to her feelings. But what keeps her obsessed is something else entirely. You're about to unlock the brutal code of what actually keeps a woman chasing, and it's not comfort, flowers, or nice words. It's tension, unpredictability, and deep masculine gravity. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to act in a way that makes her crave you endlessly, even when she doesn't understand why. The first thing you need to understand is this: attraction is not a transaction, it's an instinct. It doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care how good your heart is. She's not evaluating you logically. She's responding to your presence. And the more you try to prove your worth to her, the more she feels the opposite, that you have no worth to begin with. Think about that. Every time you chase, explain, justify, or overextend, you're confirming a brutal subconscious message. I'm not enough as I am. I need you to validate me. And that's the death of desire. The moment she feels your self-worth depends on her, she loses the spark. Why? Because now you're needy. And a needy man can't lead. A needy man can't protect. A needy man can't be trusted with her wild feminine chaos. You may not say it out loud, but she can feel it. And the moment she feels like she's the one holding the frame, you've already lost her. I still remember sitting in a bar watching this play out in real time. A guy walks in with his girl, and you can feel it. She's already drifting. She looks around, not clinging to his side. He tries to kiss her cheek, she brushes him off. But then, another guy walks in, confident, unbothered, commanding presence, doesn't even look at her, and instantly she starts preening. Fixing her hair, glancing over, whispering to her guy with eyes locked on the newcomer. What happened? Biology happened. The second she felt a stronger pull of masculine energy in the room, her instincts overrode her loyalty. And the guy she came with, he felt it too. Started getting tense, trying to win her back in front of everyone. That made it worse. The more he tried, the less she responded. That's the paradox. You get her obsessed not by trying harder, but by letting go of the outcome and embodying the very energy she can't resist. You want her to chase? Start living like she's not the prize, you are. Because here's what no one tells you. Women don't fall in love with men who worship them. They fall for men they admire, men they can't fully figure out, men who have a direction, a mission, a silence that says, I'll take you with me, but I don't need you to go. That kind of energy is magnetic. And no, this isn't about being cold or manipulative. It's about showing her that your life force doesn't bend for approval, that your emotions are not a playground she can casually run through. When you become the man who doesn't fold, who doesn't beg, who doesn't lose himself to win her, you trigger the deepest instinct in her biology: pursuit. She needs to earn you, and once she feels she has to earn you, she'll never want to stop. Because now she's invested, and we chase what we invest in. The tragedy is most men never get this. They keep thinking they need to give more. Maybe if I just send a long text explaining my feelings, stop. That text doesn't make her understand you. It makes her pity you, or worse, resent you. You're not building connection, you're leaking emotional insecurity. You're feeding her power. And no matter how kind she is, she will not respect a man who gives her the emotional steering wheel. Women are not looking for men who follow their lead. They're looking for a man whose direction they can trust. Not control, trust. That's the difference. You can't lead her if you're chasing her. You can't seduce her if you're seeking permission. You want her glued to you? Stand so solid in your values, your mission, and your self-respect that her storm bounces off your stillness. That's what makes a woman spiral into obsession. When she feels like she's near something powerful, and she's not sure if she can touch it all the way. Let her feel your distance, not out of cruelty, but out of centeredness. Let her feel your silence, not as punishment, but as presence. Let her feel your indifference to her moods, Not because you don't care, but because you refuse to be controlled. That's the frame, that's the code, that's the posture that keeps her wanting to understand you, reach you, please you. And when she does get a piece of your attention, when you drop a compliment, a look, a touch, it hits her like lightning. Why? Because it's rare, it's earned. It's from a man who gives from overflow, not desperation. And the more she has to work to get that spark, the more she invests, the more she becomes attached. You don't chase her, you pull her in by the gravity of a life she wants to orbit. She'll test you, of course she will, she has to. It's not always conscious, but it's instinctive. She'll push buttons just to see if you break. She'll go cold just to see if you chase. She'll flirt with another guy, not because she wants him, but because she wants to see if your confidence was real or just an act. And this is where most guys collapse. They take the bait, they lash out, plead, argue, sulk. In that moment, you reveal everything. You tell her, without words, that she still controls your emotional state. And the moment she senses that, her desire dies. Not because she wanted to hurt you, but because your strength was exposed as a mask. Women need to feel your immovability, that no matter what mood she throws, what storm she brews, you remain rooted. That's how she feels safe. That's how she stays turned on. And that's how she knows she can never fully own you. Because here's what no one dares say. Love isn't about equality, it's about polarity. One of you leads, one of you follows, one of you penetrates reality, the other flows through it. If you're both trying to lead, there's conflict. If you're both submitting, there's stagnation. But if you hold the masculine frame, if you move with certainty, purpose, direction, she will flow around you. And in that dance, she feels alive. She feels feminine. She feels like she can let go because you're the one holding structure. You don't need to control her. You need to control yourself. That's the frame. She's not looking for your obedience. She's looking for your gravity. And gravity doesn't beg. It pulls everything toward it without effort. That's the kind of man who never gets ghosted. That's the kind of man women think about long after they've walked away, if they can even manage to leave. And yet, most men have been stripped of this frame from birth. Told to be sensitive, but not too much. Strong, but never intimidating. Kind, but never assertive. You've been conditioned to neutralize your own power just to be accepted. And the worst part, you think that's love. You think being agreeable is what she wants, but it's not. She may say she wants you to open up more, but what she craves is depth, not weakness. She may say she wants to make all the decisions, but what she craves is to surrender to something stronger than her. That's the secret. Women want to surrender, but only to a man who's worthy of it. And the way you prove that isn't through words, gifts, or declarations. It's through the way you move, the way you speak, the way you look at her without fear in your eyes. When she feels that, she melts. She locks on. She becomes obsessed without understanding why. Because deep down, she wants to be led. She wants to feel the thrill of not knowing what's next, of wondering what you're thinking, of sensing your distance, then being pulled back in with one glance, one touch, one word. That tension is addictive, but you can't fake it. You can't pretend to be detached when you're secretly obsessing. She'll feel it. You can't fake masculinity. It either radiates from you or it doesn't. So how do you become that man? You stop performing, you stop playing roles, you stop trying to say the right things, you strip it all down, you find stillness. You build a life that inspires you with or without her in it. You stop asking, how do I keep her interested? And start asking, what kind of man do I want to be? That shift changes everything. Because now you're no longer looking to be chosen, you're doing the choosing. And the more you live in that frame, the more irresistible you become. Not because you're flashy, not because you're smooth, but because you're real. Because you're the one man she can't manipulate. The one man who looks at her beauty and doesn't crumble. The one man who gives her space without fear. Who stays grounded when she acts out. Who doesn't fold when things get hard. That's power. Not volume, not bravado. Quiet, steady, immovable power, and she will feel it, she'll crave it. She'll start texting first, asking where you are, wanting to prove herself. Because now she's out of control, and that scares her in the best way. Because now you're no longer the man who waits for her to decide. You're the man she can't stop chasing. She'll say things to provoke you. You don't even care, do you? I feel like you're distant. Other guys treat me better. She's watching how you react, not to punish you, but to feel something real. She's testing the wire, checking for voltage. What happens if she pokes your ego? Will you whine, argue, try to explain yourself into safety? That's what most men do. They try to win the argument instead of holding the frame. And every time you explain, every time you try to justify, you shrink in her eyes. But when you stay calm, when you don't react, when you look at her with unshaken certainty, that's when her body betrays her. That's when she starts chasing the energy she can't control. You want to be unforgettable? Be the man she can't rattle. Be the one who doesn't lose composure, no matter what words she throws at you. That's what haunts her. That's what makes her crave more. You think she wants you to be nice all the time. She doesn't. She wants you to be real, raw, decisive, grounded. You think withholding your truth makes you polite. It makes you invisible. You think giving her the world makes her feel lucky. It makes her feel burdened. You think never saying no makes you supportive. It makes you spineless. And you know what happens when you show up like that? She starts to pull away, slowly, quietly. She won't even know why. Something just feels off. That off is your absence of spine. That off is your lack of polarity. That off is your energy bending around hers. And when a man does that, he becomes her emotional support dog, not her obsession. You want her addicted to your presence? Speak with weight. Walk like you own time. Look her in the eye and make her feel your silence more than another man's words. And don't just fake stoicism. Don't pretend you're strong while secretly chasing validation. She can smell that. Don't try to be mysterious by playing cold. Be mysterious because your life is full, because you're not available for every emotion she throws at you, because you're not at her emotional mercy. That kind of presence doesn't require games. It requires discipline, purpose, a code. You live by something, you wake up for something. You're not just floating, waiting for a woman to come complete you. You're moving with or without her, and that movement is what pulls her in. The paradox is simple. She stays when she feels like she might lose you. Not because you're disloyal, but because you're ungraspable. Because you're too rooted in your own vision to be tethered by her moods. That's what creates devotion. That's what makes a woman fall into you with her whole being. Not love, not effort, polarity. There's a reason you see guys who don't even try, and women are crawling all over them. They're not necessarily better looking. They're not richer. They're not even kinder. But they carry something most men don't, a non-attachment, a calm defiance, a subtle intensity that says, I'm not here to impress you, I'm here because I want to be, and I can leave just as easily. That threat of loss, wrapped in grounded presence, is intoxicating. It triggers something primal in her, something ancient, a desire to keep you, to win your attention, to feel chosen by the man who doesn't need to choose anyone. And once she feels that dynamic, she can't go back to average men. They feel too soft, too predictable, too available. She needs the emotional voltage that only comes from being near a man who moves with purpose, not permission. If you want to flip the dynamic forever, here's the quiet shift you make. Stop reacting. Start responding. Stop chasing. Start leading. Stop waiting for her to validate you. Start living like you're the reward. Because once she senses that your world is rich, with or without her, she'll want nothing more than to be part of it. You don't need to convince her. You don't need to impress her. You just need to show up as the man who's already full. The man who listens without needing. Touches without attachment. Gives without depletion. That kind of man is rare. That kind of man is sacred. And once she feels it, she won't just want you. She'll ache for you. She'll think about you when she's out with friends. She'll reach for her phone without knowing why. She'll feel pulled into your orbit because now, finally, she's near a man she can't fully grasp and can't walk away from either. You stop being a maybe when you stop asking for approval. When your every action is no longer shaped by, will she like this, but by, does this match who I am? That's when she starts seeing you differently. That's when her curiosity turns to hunger. Because now you've done something no one else has the balls to do. You've removed her from the pedestal. You've dethroned her in your mind. Not in hate, not in bitterness, but in clarity. And from that clarity, everything shifts. You talk less, you walk slower. You make eye contact like you're reading her soul, but you're not trying to impress a damn thing. Your energy says, I'm whole. Are you? That's the kind of presence that makes her nervous. That's the kind of presence that makes her obsessed. Because now you're not one of the boys trying to please her. You're the man who might just see through her. And don't get it twisted. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing cold to get her. It's about revealing the truth she's been waiting to feel. That your world is bigger than her approval. That her beauty doesn't hypnotize you. That her attention doesn't inflate your worth. You've been lied to your whole life, told to cater, to flatter, to pursue endlessly. And where did it get you? Ghosted, blocked, left on read. You didn't lose because you weren't nice enough. You lost because you gave away your edge. You made her the prize and became a contestant. The moment you do that, you've already disqualified yourself. But when you flip the script, when you show up like a man with nothing to prove and everything to offer, she leans in, she softens, she surrenders, because finally, she's in the presence of someone she can trust. Not because you're perfect, but because you're unshakable. Women aren't chasing perfection, they're chasing gravity, stillness, strength, integrity. If your life is scattered, if your words don't match your actions, if you're floating in chaos, she won't feel safe no matter how sweet you are. But when your yes means yes, your no means no, your time has weight, and your attention is a privilege, now she's dealing with a man who can lead. That's what makes her never want to leave. Not your gifts, not your compliments, your frame, your presence, your refusal to be moved by drama, flattery, or fear. That's the rarest thing in the world today. A man who is not emotionally hijacked by a woman. And when she finds it, she locks on. She might test it, she might poke it, but deep down she respects it. And respect is the root of obsession. She can't submit to a man she doesn't admire, and she can't admire a man who worships her more than he honors himself. So ask yourself this: are you moving with weight? Are you leading with purpose? Or are you still adjusting your behavior based on whether she texts you back? That's where the war is won. Not in what you say, but in how you exist. You want her to be all over you? Be all over your life first. Build a body you respect. Craft a mind that's disciplined. Pour yourself into something you die for. And then maybe she can come along for the ride. But don't pause the mission for her. Don't slow down for her. Don't lose velocity to accommodate her comfort. The moment you do, she starts to fade. Because now she's no longer following a king. She's dragging a servant. You want her to stay? Stay on your path, with or without her. That's the edge. That's the burn. That's the power she'll never walk away from. You become unforgettable when you stop orbiting her. When you're not waiting on texts, not watching stories, not building your day around the hope she notices you. Because now your attention has weight. It's not free, it's not desperate, it's earned. And the second a woman senses that your focus is expensive, that your time isn't given away like cheap candy, she'll do everything to get another taste of it. That's how the game flips. You go from the guy waiting for crumbs to the man she can't stop thinking about at night. Not because you said the perfect thing, not because you memorized some tactic, but because you reclaimed your throne. You started living like the man you were meant to be and stopped asking for permission to exist. That kind of man doesn't just attract women, he haunts them. And here's the twist. Once you become that man, you won't even care if she stays. That's the real secret. When your life is rich, when your peace is intact, when your mornings are full of focus and your nights are full of purpose, a woman becomes the dessert, not the main course. She's no longer the center of your world, she's the cherry on top. And that's what keeps her there. Because now she's in the presence of someone she can't shake. She feels it in the way you speak, calm, certain, without needing to convince. She feels it in the way you touch her, deliberate, present, without overreach. She feels it in the way you walk away when she disrespects you, not with anger, but with quiet resolve. That energy is rare. That energy is sacred. And once she's felt it, she won't want to go back to a man who collapses at her feet. You'll stop having to ask if she's interested. You'll stop decoding her mixed signals. You'll stop begging for clarity. Why? Because now you are the clarity. You are the signal. And if she can't match your standard, she disqualifies herself. Not with hatred, not with games, but with a peaceful detachment that says, I don't chase what doesn't value me. You move on not with bitterness, but with momentum. And she sees it, she feels it, she spirals. Because now you've become the man she tells her friends about, the one she let slip away, the one who didn't need her but left an imprint on her soul anyway. That's how you stay in her mind. That's how you dominate her memory. Not through pressure, through presence, not through force, through energy. You stop trying to win her and you start to choose her. That distinction changes everything. When you're still chasing, you're asking her to define your worth. But when you're choosing, you're examining her behavior. Does she bring peace? Does she bring value? Does she respect your time, your mission, your mind? If the answer's no, you move on without a pause. And that indifference, that grace, that terrifying ease with which you walk away from mediocrity, that's what makes her chase you like no other man she's ever known. Because you're no longer trying to impress, you're trying to align. And alignment is more powerful than attraction. Because it means you don't need her, you require compatibility. And that makes her feel something no one else has ever made her feel: respect. You're not her therapist, you're not her fan club, you're not her emotional punching bag. You're the man who commands presence, who speaks with precision, who doesn't tolerate chaos in his kingdom. And when she realizes she can't manipulate you, can't guilt you, can't play her little power games with you, she starts trying to earn you. That's when everything changes. That's when she stops thinking about options. That's when her friends don't matter. That's when the ex gets blocked, the party invites get turned down, and suddenly she's all in. Because you've become the mountain she wants to climb. Not because you asked. Because you've become the mountain she wants to climb. Not because you asked, but because you stood tall. And when she finally gets close, when she earns your presence, your trust, your attention, you don't just hand over your soul. You don't drown her in neediness. You don't suddenly revert to the guy who used to beg for scraps. No, you stay grounded. You stay sharp. You let her in, but you never let her own you. Because the moment she feels like she owns you, the polarity dies. The obsession fades. She starts looking elsewhere, not because she stopped caring, but because you stopped being the man who made her feel something. That's the tragedy of most relationships. A man earns her attraction by being strong, focused, sovereign, and then loses it by turning soft, overexposed, predictable. You want her to stay addicted? Keep being the man she first respected. Keep leveling up. Keep doing the hard things. Keep holding your frame, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. She'll say, "You've changed." But what she really means is, "I feel like I can control you now." And when you sense that shift, you don't panic. You smile, you lean back, and you say, with no malice, no heat, just power, "Maybe you should think about why that bothers you." Now you're not just the guy she can have, you're the man she might lose. And that potential loss, that razor-thin edge between access and withdrawal, is the fire that keeps her in the game. See, men think the goal is comfort, but comfort is the enemy of attraction. Comfort is where desire dies. Comfort makes you forget to show up strong, to speak with intent, to make decisions like a king. You stop leading, you start pleasing. You stop being a mystery, you become a mirror, reflecting her moods, her needs, her chaos, and she'll resent you for it. Not because you're evil, because you gave up your masculine core. You gave up your power to keep the peace. She wants peace that radiates from your spine, the peace of knowing you're good with or without her, that you're a fortress, that you're unfazed. You don't maintain obsession by staying nice. You maintain it by staying true. That means when she tests your boundaries, you don't flinch. You nod, you open the door, and you say, "If that's what you need to do, I understand." Not sarcastically, not to play games, but from a place of genuine inner freedom. And that freedom, that unbreakable calm, that's the sexiest thing she's ever felt. Because now she sees you as something beyond her reach. Something sacred, something masculine in a way most men have forgotten how to be. And even if she walks away, she won't forget. She won't replace you. She might try. She'll go on dates, post stories, text guys who say all the right things. But deep down, you'll still be in her bones. Because she never had to chase them. She never had to prove herself to them. She never had to earn them. But you made her rise. You made her feel alive. You made her question herself. You made her work. And nothing gets under a woman's skin more than a man who forced her to level up just to keep his attention. That's not just attraction, that's imprinting. That's obsession. An obsession, when it's rooted in respect, lasts. It doesn't fade with time, it deepens, it twists itself into her memory, her body, her heart. She'll lay next to another man and still think about you. Not because you said the right lines, but because you stood firm when every other man collapsed. Because you didn't need her, and yet, when she had you, it meant something. You were rare, you had standards. You weren't another one of the boys worshiping her like a goddess. You were a king in his own right. And kings don't beg, kings don't chase, kings don't explain themselves to court jesters. They rule, quietly, powerfully, unapologetically. And that energy, it's addictive, it's spiritual. It touches her on a level that no performance or pickup line ever could. But here's the truth most men can't handle. If you truly embody this, you'll lose women. You'll lose the ones who are only in it for control. Because you're not building a life for breadcrumbs. You're building a life so rich in discipline, power, and purpose that only the worthy can stand beside you. That's the life where she stays. Not because you trapped her, not because you guilted her, but because she respects you so deeply that leaving would feel like abandoning something sacred. And that's the shift. You're no longer afraid of loss. You're no longer performing to stay in her life. You've reversed the roles. Now she has to prove herself. Not through words, but through consistent feminine surrender to a man who's already won the war within himself. And that war, it starts now. Not when she texts you, not when she ghosted you, not when she changed. It starts when you look in the mirror and say, I will not bend to be liked. I will not shrink to be loved. I will not lose myself to keep her. That is the code, that is the armor. That is the fire that turns boys into men and men into forces of nature. Because once you walk like you own the ground beneath you, calm, quiet, dangerous, she won't be able to forget you. She won't want to forget you. You'll live in her head like a scent she can't place, but never stops craving. Because now, you're not an option, you're a force. And the irony is, the moment you stop trying to get her is the moment she can't stop trying to get you. That's how it works. That's the game no one tells you about. Not because it's cruel, but because it's primal. It's wired in her. She needs to feel your dominance, not through control, but through your refusal to need. And when you show her that, when you truly live it, not as a tactic, but as a truth, she'll never leave you alone. Not in her mind, not in her body, not in her soul. Because you've become the man she didn't know she was waiting for. The man who doesn't just attract her, the man who awakens her.